Good evening, everybody. I'm not live just yet, but I am finishing the readings, and I like to take some notes. So I'm not sure if you can see what the readings are. I thought I might have put it into the description, but if you'd like to ask anything in particular and get my thoughts on it, I'm more than happy to go over it. It is Friday evening, so it's not inappropriate for people to have a cocktail. And so at some point, I'd like to get this set up so we can do live chat because I do appreciate everybody taking the time to step in. I'd like to get everybody else's perspective and try to come up with a process to do so. So since I don't have voice for you to ask questions, feel free to just make some comments. And while I'm reading, I'm more than happy to answer as I'm kind of reviewing the stuff right now. You know, I'm basically rereading stuff. I like to see what else I might be missing. Just finished up on Matthew 5. Now I'm on Psalm 6 again. Okay, so I'm not going to begin the discussion until 8:30, but since there's some people signed in,
I didn't understand.
You know, I don't really like the fact that my phone spies on me. Hello, Claudia, how are you? I will not begin the Bible discussion until 8:30 because that's what I tell people, or I'm trying to be consistent. But I'm more than happy to talk about, I guess, maybe the previous 5 days. If anybody wants something to discuss in particular, or what's going on in the world, I could talk about some exciting stuff in the world of voter fraud. Oh, I better be careful if I use the word fraud. They may try to get me. But there was some good news about the voter system, and with regards to Maricopa, the judge sided with the senators in Maricopa to be able to pull all the ballots and audit them. So that's a great first start. So, Once again, this is one of the nice things about just being independent. I'm not part of some religious organization that I can't discuss politics and worry about my tax-deferred status being pooled. I don't have to worry about that. So I can speak about politics, religion, as well as anything else that's controversial, all together at the same time. And I think over time you'll get to see that it doesn't. I don't have any qualms about doing such a thing. Gretchen, it is absolutely outstanding news. I did get a wonderful voice clip about it, so which is super super cool. And so I think some cool stuff might happen. Who knows if I'm going to get pulled back into this? Only time will tell. But I do know that they're kind of pushing back against some of the other people in their research, and so there's a possibility they might pull me back in, which I kind of chuckle about because like I tell people, when Liz Harris called me up and asked me to do the stuff, go prepare the information and go, speak and testify. I thought I was just doing my civic duty. I'd go in there, do my thing, and just go home, get on a plane and go home. I didn't think anything else would happen. I definitely didn't plan it, didn't anticipate it. I was just like, okay, thank you guys. It's been fun. I'm going to go back to my glass of wine and I'm going to relax. And that's it. And then just kept turning into more and more. And, I've been trying to manage the workflow as best I can. I'm looking to hire some people. It's not easy to find people. But if anybody knows anybody in the western suburbs of Chicago, Kane County, please send them my way if they're looking. And then I'm more than happy to have a conversation because I need more people for my business. What I'm doing in the markets, I need some people that I might need to hire in some capacity for the voter integrity project. I just have so many hours in the day, and I can't stand the fact that I can't get a hold of everybody. Or not get a hold. I don't have the time to call everybody that's engaged, and I'm really sorry about that. And I'm trying to fix it as fast as I can. So I'm trying to find people and the right people that can help do that. So, thank you, Madeline. That's a beautiful name, by the way. I've always liked that name, Madeline. So, Gretchen, I want to say senators go in and get the ballots. I think they should, Gretchen. I think that would be wonderful. They should definitely get the ballots. I think they're going to be shocked by what they find. And I think that if Arizona, I had a dream back in, I don't know, maybe early December, that Arizona was going to be the last drop that sets the whole waterfall off. So if you want to donate to the project, I did set up an account on GiveSendGo. It's on Gab under Bobby Piton, or Twitter at UAmerica333. It's much appreciated. I think what I'm going to do as I spend the money, I'm going to disclose exactly where it goes, how much goes for equipment, how much goes for labor, how much goes for everything. And just to be clear, I will not take any compensation. This is what I deem to be my charitable giving for all the great things that this nation has, bestowed upon me and my family, and my parents immigrating here and being first generation. So I'm very grateful. That's why I happen to put, Neil Diamond on today, because, my parents had a 6th grade education. They fled. They were the largest family ever released from a communist country in Poland. And, they never were on public aid. They just wanted a chance. And so that song resonates with me a lot because my mom would tear up when she would hear it. And I've heard that about Gene Simmons from Kiss. I think it was maybe it was his mom or grandmother, and she would see the American flag and just tear up because when you're oppressed and you're not allowed to earn and you're not allowed to be free and you're not allowed to think for yourself and your family, and you have to do what you're told or you get hurt. It's got to be very depressing, and it's got to be very dehumanizing, and I think that I think people are a bit in denial or don't realize that we run a very real risk of that if we don't fix things, and everybody, if everybody doesn't start to get involved. So, James, I love chilling with you too. I told my wife, I said, this is day 6 of 365. I said, you gotta admit one thing. When you tell a bunch of people that you care about that you're going to do something, it doesn't matter how you feel, you're going to do it. So even if I'm, it's a Friday night, I'm like, you know what? I got home. It's been a long week. I've been up since 4 this morning. I got to the office at 5:30. And then, I love how that works. You get to the office at 5:30, you start working for about an hour and a half, and then you're like, man, I'm tired. I could take a nap. And you're like, why couldn't I feel like that at 4:30? Why at 7 a.m.? So anyways, I'm just laughing because it's like, am I the only one that happens to? I'm like, I just, why couldn't I get an extra 30 minutes when I was in my bed, not when I'm at my desk? So it's about 3 minutes to go. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go get a glass to have a little bit of gin. I'm going to tell you what gin this is. I was at Benny's the other night, and I was looking at, I like this Japanese gin called Roku. And this gentleman said, oh, you got to try this gin. It's the best gin you've ever had. And I'm a little skeptical, when somebody says that. But I said, you know what? I'll give it a shot. I was going to make some Vespers. I like Vespers, like vodka, equal parts gin, a little bit of Lillet. It's just, that's my thing. I like my martinis. And I am in Geneva. Can you say Geneva? What's going on? Get your gin. Be happy. Cindy, are you in Geneva? Hold on a second. Let's see. I am in the western suburbs. That's correct. So who knows if maybe there's some people here that live out here as well. I got 2 minutes. I'm going to go grab my gin and we're going to start. Okay. So here we go. Look at this. This is unconventional. See, the priest has to say it's the blood of Christ when he has his wine. Bobby's going to say this is just really good quality gin. But take a look at this. This is Trump 45. You see that? Nice glass, Trump 45. So anyways, this gin, and I am not being paid to advertise on behalf of this. And if you're under 21, you should ignore this. This is just for adults that are over 21, not the ones that have to go fight in the military at 18. The botanist. It's unbelievable. This is such a wonderful gin. So anyway, I'm just going to have a little bit of gin. It's very good. I hope everybody else has their Friday evening cocktail. And we will be starting right on the nose. So, gray whale. I like that. Let me write that down. Gray whale. That's funny. Isn't that the white whale in Moby Dick? So you're going to go with the gray whale, huh? What's your opinion on Grappa? I do like Grappa. Look, first of all, let me tell you something, James. I've never met an alcohol that I didn't like. Okay? Nothing. I love all alcohol. It just depends on the day and the mood. But anyways, I think that might be my Polish in me. Polish people, and I happen to have thicker blood. So, that's not just, I'm not exaggerating. I have thicker blood because my family's from the mountains. And so that might have something to do with it. That's really nice. I love Grappa. First of all, I know what Grappa is. I will say that I'm a huge fan of cognac, because it's distilled wine. So with that, just Polish. But my roots are Scandinavian, going back 1,000 years, and then the coast of Britain and France, Normandy, and then we made our way across to Poland. I think about 200-300 years ago, before we came to the U.S. I happen to like studying things. So let's go with Genesis 3. So starting with Genesis 3, thank you everybody for coming. So we'll do a quick little prayer. I love tequila too. And we got to stay focused on this. And then we could talk about drinking afterwards. Let's just say, I just want to say, I'd like to begin with, in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Even for all of you Christians out there that are not Roman Catholic, it's okay that you don't believe in the Holy Trinity. I happen to believe that it does exist. But if you don't, I still love you anyways. And we still love the core message. So let's just focus on the core message. We can disagree on that piece. That's funny. I look like I'm Polish. Yeah, I get that. So with regards to Lot, who was traveling with Abram, so we're going to Genesis 13. I got to tell you, I didn't have the easiest time with this one. And so if there's something that somebody thought really stood out in their mind, I would really appreciate it, because nothing in Genesis 13 really stuck out to me, other than the fact that they mention Sodom and Gomorrah, which is mentioned all the other times. But is there anybody that wants to discuss one of the key takeaways in Genesis 13? Because I read it like two, 3 times, and I can't find anything that's like, wow, that's what the obvious thing is for Genesis 13. Okay, Shakim and Bose, what's your takeaway? So while I'm waiting for you, James, I'm going to start looking at Genesis 14, just so that we kind of move this along a little bit. So then they were talking about all these different kings fighting for land, okay? And then the invaders plundered Sodom and Gomorrah and headed for home, taking the spoils of war. And then, Lot's men escaped and reported everything to Abram, the Hebrew, who was living. Okay, so then, as I was going through this, saying, Abram recovered all the goods that had been taken, and he brought back his nephew Lot with his possessions and all the women that were captives. And then, blessed be Abram, the God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who has defeated your enemies for you. So then Abram gave Melchizedek 10%. The king of Sodom said to Abram, give back my people who were captured, but you may keep all the goods. Okay. So then Abram told Sodom, I solemnly swear to the Lord, God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, that I will not take as much as a single thread or sandal thong that from what belongs to you. Okay, I am the one who made Abram rich. I will only accept what my young warriors have already eaten, and I request you give me my fair share. Okay, so that's kind of interesting, because foregoing what other people might think he was entitled to is a way of respect. It's also a way of, my interpretation of that is If you thought what he was doing was for God, then you shouldn't try to profit from God in this physical world, is my takeaway. And I've thought about that plenty of times, like some of the stuff that I'm doing with regards to prayer and with regards to the Bible. Should something develop and it turns into some type of little enterprise where I'm being paid from Google for ads or something along those lines, I have no idea. All that money will be, contributed to other causes that support it. I don't want to earn a single dollar off of this. That's not why I'm doing any of this. So I would never feel comfortable taking it. And I was talking to my friend Christian about that, and he basically said something which was really interesting. And he said, some people think, I think it was Dennis Prager. I think he's actually Jewish, and he's a great conservative. There aren't that many conservative Jews. We definitely need more of them. Judaism at times can be interpreted as espousing communism, and anybody who's read the Torah, talked to Jewish people that know this about their religion. But what Prager says that's interesting is people think taking the Lord's name in vain is like cursing, right? When you're Roman Catholic, that's what you kind of hear. Don't swear, don't say, God, Jesus, blah, blah, blah. When you're upset, you kind of say the name, right? And that's the interpretation most people have when they hear don't use the Lord's name in vain. But the reality is when you do things in the real world, like in the physical world, I guess the digital world now, where you try to play to people's sense of their spirituality and prosper from it so that you can get more by invoking Christ or invoking God. And I got to tell you, that makes perfect sense. Prager is spot on, because there's people that I've seen over my lifetime, like this, what's that guy out of Texas who applied for COVID money? He just looks like a cartoon character with his teeth. Hey, Nicole, who's that guy that's down in Texas? Yeah, the guy that drives Ferraris and acts like he's very pious. It's like Olstein. Maybe it's Olstein. Yeah, Joel Olstein is, so when I heard this, I was thinking about Olstein. And I'm like, wow. He sounds like he's taking the Lord's name in vain. Because when I see him and the way he behaves, he talks a good talk. He does. He's really charismatic. And I'm telling you, man, if there was some snake oil to sell, that would be number one. He would be the top salesman of planet Earth if he had some snake oil to sell. But that guy takes the message of Christ and he puts a nice big bow on it, and he just turns around and prospers like no other person that's ever walked the face of the earth preaching the good word. And I have a hard time relating to that, because my view is that we should have communion with other people in the physical world in smaller groups. I think I'm looking at rearranging things here at the house. I talked to my wife, and maybe having 5 or 10 people talk about the Bible and talk about religion once a week, and just broadcast it, and then maybe open it up for questions. And I lost 4 Joel Olstein fans, just so you guys know, as I brought that up. I went from 29 to 25 people viewing. So there must be some Joel fans out there. But what I will say is, years ago, I came across this guy named Warren. And I forgot his first name. What's the preacher's name that's named Warren? Can somebody help me out here? Who's the Warren character? I'm not character. He's a good guy. He's a preacher. What's that? No. He sold over 50 million books. Warren, not Warren Buffett. No. He's Warren, not Christopher Warren. What's it? Rick Warren. That is right. What's the name of the book? The Purpose-Driven Life. Okay. I came across this guy named Rick Warren, and I was amazed by his story years ago, maybe like 5-10 years ago. Yes, that's right. Donna, it's Rick Warren. And when I read about Rick Warren, and I was like, I love this guy. I don't know who this guy is, but one of the things that he said, I think maybe I saw him in a TED Talk or something. And then I went and pulled his book down. And he basically said, he goes, as I make more money, because of what I do with preaching, with being an author, you start out tithing 10%. And he said that, I forgot what his ratio was, but he basically said that every certain dollar amount that he makes, he gives 20% to tithing, then 30%, then 40%, and then he tithes over 90%. And he said, my cup overfilleth. And I'd rather take the money from people that are getting the message of what I'm doing and giving it toward others to do good than try to capture it all for myself. And I completely agree and totally love that message. And, how much is enough? That's the big question. How much do you really need to truly be happy? And if you really believe that we're all children of God, and you can do something to help people, accept that they're children of God, not just accept it, but believe it and put in the effort and make a difference for themselves and change the trajectory of their life and their family's life and their friends, what is that worth? Everybody is always focused on accumulating, and then they're going to give something away when they're older. I always find that fascinating. Like, there's a lot of really rich people, and and I've been around really rich people my whole life, and there's a whole different spectrum of wealth. There's people that that think they're rich, they have $1 million, they think they're rich. I got news for you, that you're not rich with $1 million anymore. In terms of buying your freedom, you have security, but you're not rich. And then you have people that have 5 million. They're definitely getting there, or they have that freedom to think and do what they want to do in this world. And then it just kind of escalates from there. But some people, they don't want to contribute until they know they're checking out, so to speak. They're waiting. They're kind of like waiting toward the exit, and then they're like, "Oh, on the way out the door, I'm going to do it." And I always thought that was fascinating because, if you properly put that money to work, what above and beyond what you really need and what you really want, how much different would the world look like while you were alive? And you would get to experience and see it and witness it. And, past a certain point, if you can consciously invest in freeing other human beings and helping them come to their own independence and see what, develop themselves and what the world is, how cool would that be? I mean, I think that's worth a lot more than making the money to begin with. But, that's just my opinion. But who knows? But all I'm saying is, there's a lot of people that I think that there's some people that accumulate wealth that are kind of like black holes on Earth. A black hole will suck in everything around it, and it never is satisfied, and it'll keep shredding everything that crosses the event horizon. And I've seen plenty of those individuals, in the business world that I've witnessed in terms of publicly traded companies. I've seen my fair share in people in private companies, people that inherited that kind of wealth. They're just miserable, I don't want to say it because it's inappropriate language. But put it this way. Me just finishing off this little glass of wine, this little bit right there, I probably experience more joy than some of those people do in a week. And that's the beauty of us being spirits in a human form, not humans in a spirit form. We have the ability through our mind and our spirit to enjoy the luxury of being here to begin with. And those people are just black holes that somehow, I guess, manage to manifest themselves in the human form. Not all of them, but a really big slug of them are like that. And it's sad. And it's not my battle to fight. That's something they can figure out on their own. And they'll deal with it when they meet their maker. Where's my flask? I like that. I don't have a flask here, buddy. But, okay. So let's go to... Now, keep in mind, folks, even though it says 36 minutes, I did start early and was chatting with folks that showed up. So we're actually into minute 16. So we're going to try to keep this under 30 minutes. But just so that you guys don't think I'm talking too much here. Okay, that's right, Mason. Someone will always have more than you. And at the end of the day, who cares? Oh, my sister just texted me. Cheers. Thank you, Chris. She said she likes to watch me talk. She enjoys the calmer side of Bobby. Sometimes I could be a little loud, but it's not because I'm angry. It's just that I'm loud. I happen to be Polish, so that's Polish people talk loud. Anyways, this is really interesting. I was going over Matthew 5, which is in today's reading, and I want to talk about this because I happen to have been married for about 15 years, and so this Matthew 5 actually ties into me, and I guess a lot of divorced people. So, as such, I wanted to spend a little more time on this one than the other ones. And so Matthew 5 says the following. Okay, I'm going to read a couple paragraphs. You have heard the commandment that says you must not commit adultery. But I say anyone who even looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery in his heart. So, if your eye, even your good eye, causes you lust, gouge it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than your whole body be thrown into hell. And if your hand, even stronger hand, causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than your whole body be thrown into hell. Okay? You have heard the law that says a man can divorce his wife by merely giving her written notice of divorce. But I say that a man who divorces his wife, unless she has been unfaithful, causes her to commit adultery. And anyone who marries a divorced woman also commits adultery. Now that's really interesting because you think about this for a second. A man who divorces his wife, unless she has been unfaithful, causes her to commit adultery. So the question becomes, this comes into sexual energy, right? So this is an interesting topic. So I'm going to talk about sex, the act of sex. I'm talking about sexual energy because I have explored I guess I've researched this topic outside of the Bible. And, if you think about the whole concept of creation, where DNA from men and women merge to create another human being and create, I guess act as a receiver of sorts to create another human life through God. That DNA and energy intertwines, and it's like the Big Bang. If you think about the universe, in a lot of respects, that same fractal geometry I like to talk about, how things are fractal, they happen on a really large level and then on a small level, macro and micro. So the creation of a new life on Earth taking place in the womb is kind of like the Big Bang. And it's kind of funny because some people use the word bang. so anyways, with regards to that merging of material, that genetic material that creates a new life, there's also an energy that changes hands. So this is one of the reasons why I think they do a horrible job of teaching sexuality in schools in this country, and the importance. The Catholic Church and religion in general has done a horrific job of teaching the value of abstinence. And I know that sounds a little crazy because it's like abstinence. Who even knows that word anymore? Abstain from sex? Are you kidding me? Nowadays with Tinder, with all this other stuff that's out there, with the internet easily accessing anybody who wants to have sex at a drop of a hat. I mean, anybody can get on the computer and find somebody to have sex with any hour of any day, any city in America. And like it's really bizarre. But on this whole subject of sexuality and sex, you're making a chemical and spiritual connection to the person you have sex with, and you intertwine with that person far longer than you've ever think that you are. You're entering into a contract, and the question is, do you want to enter into a contract with somebody indefinitely? And if people really thought about it the way it really goes down, like, you're going to be like, wait a second, I'm not really sure I want to sleep with that person. Now, I can tell you right now, I'm 45 years old, but I grew up with this concept that I never wanted to sleep with anybody that I couldn't see myself being stuck with. I know that sounds silly, but like, unless I could possibly marry them, I didn't want to sleep with them. And that was my simple rule of thumb. And that's the way I kind of grew up. And I didn't really understand. I just intuited it. And, reading this Matthew 5, I think it kind of ties into that concept. So then the question becomes, oh, look at that. My sister even gave me an amen. Amen, Chris. And, I ended up being married 15 years and I got divorced. And, I'll admit my part of the fault, which is my part of the fault is, we kind of grew apart and we decided that, we had 2 kids together and we weren't sure if we should stay married and we should maybe get divorced. And then, we kind of separated, and part of that separation process, we both agreed that we can see other people. And I think that was a huge mistake. I wouldn't change anything because I would have never met my wife and had other kids. What's this? I know I didn't meet you when I was separated. My wife's like, you better make sure they know I did not meet my wife when I was separated. But I'm telling the story because it totally ties into this number 5. So, being Roman Catholic, I explained to the priest what happened. And I said, we grew apart. We wanted to stay together. We didn't go and talk to anybody. We didn't talk to a priest. We just kind of wung it, like we were like, hey, let's see what we think we should do, right? And so we decided to see other people while we weren't seeing each other when we were seeing other people. But then we kind of said, let's see what happens. Maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll realize we really want to be together. It was a weird sort of rationale, right? And I don't care. I don't have a problem saying it was all on me. She doesn't have to have any of the blame. I just know that I should have known better, and I for some reason thought that might help re-spark or reignite our relationship. And I'm looking at it in hindsight, and this really hits home because it's like, well, I basically encouraged her to commit adultery by saying, we're no longer spiritually or energetically connected. that we can break off our connection and see other people. And I think that's a very dangerous. I'm not sure how many people recover from that, and make their marriage work after doing such a thing. I really don't care to find out because it was a really shitty experience. So, but I'm just telling you that if any of you are in that situation, make sure that you don't attempt to do things that way. Try to fix it or make it work out without that, because at least if you do that and it doesn't work out and you still get divorced, at least your spouse doesn't commit adultery. In this case, the way this reads, or the husband doesn't commit adultery. Either you make a clean, energetic break, where you both know that you want to move on, or you don't, and you create this bizarre situation. And so I had to actually have, I was able to get my first marriage annulled in the Catholic Church probably because of this, because, I had broken the covenant, what the deal was when you get married. And I didn't even realize how serious it was. So thinking about it from the standpoint of being married, and thinking about it from the standpoint of having children and having a contract. By the way, after this whole experience of getting divorced and learning more about this afterwards, I've come to realize that when the government decided to pass no-fault divorce and allowed people to just walk away with no consequences and no economic damages, so to speak, I think that was one of the most severe, gross injustices that we ever did socially as a society. If you are a corporation in America and you agree to merge with another company, you can say you're getting married. It's kind of like a merger, right? As a merger is a union. So you're marrying another company. If you break that agreement, there's very severe economic consequences. It's called a break fee. You agree to marry somebody as another company and you share your intimate details about your financials, how the business runs, who runs the business, who are the most important people in the business, and you walk away. It could be anywhere from a couple $1 billion to 5% of the deal. What's interesting about this is corporations have more respect for marriage than American unions now. Two people in Illinois, they could just call it quits, walk away from each other. No consequences. People, other states across America, same thing. Nobody talks about it. And I don't even think people remember it. And so this whole Matthew 5 really hits on that. They don't come out and say it, but that's the beauty of the Bible, is that I don't even like calling it the Bible. I feel like calling it the rule book. It's like, if you think about the life book, instead of the rule book or the Bible, it's like life book, the book of life. Maybe some people call it the book of life. The book of life is like, here are the rules that really work well for human beings over time. You don't have to use them, but don't use them at your own peril. You're going to have a bunch of grief. So you want to live through the grief, don't use the rules, and then you can come back and we're just going to say, we told you so. But anyways, this is what Matthew 5 reminds me of. So with that, we're going to go to Psalm, instead of palm, drop the S, Psalm 6. So on this one, I think this is the last one. Since it's the last one, I think I'll read it out loud, and then we could talk about some other stuff. And then we can see, calling it a night. So, O Lord, don't rebuke me in anger or discipline me in your rage. And have compassion on me, Lord, for I am weak. Heal me, Lord, for my bones are in agony. I am sick at heart. How long, Lord, until you restore me? And, it's interesting because, I read some of the responses, and I get some emails from people, um, a lot of people, actually more people than I would have thought, uh, because I guess people seem to open up to me for one reason or another. And there's a lot of people that are in a lot of pain, and they're in a lot of agony, and they're very sad for a lot of different reasons. Some of it might be because of what's happening in the country. Some of it's for personal things. Some of it's in, maybe in marriages that they're in they're not happy. There's some breakdown in communication, and it's just I can feel I could definitely feel their sadness, and I pray for them, and I hope that they kind of find their way, and I hope that maybe some of the things I say helps them, not just what I say, but what I kind of maybe repackage from the good book, that the answers are in the good book. If you read the good book, you talk to other people that read it, you just keep an open mind and go at your own pace. There is no right pace. You got to go at the pace that makes sense for you. I think that will help heal you. And in the meantime, if you pray and ask God to take your cross off of you, so to speak, that's why, hand over your cross to the Lord. The Lord will carry it for you. It's not just not literal. It's also a metaphor. Give away your baggage that you're carrying around with you, that you can't walk freely in this world. I think that you can overcome that. So then, return, O Lord, and rescue me. Save me because of your unfailing love. For the dead do not remember you. Who can praise you from the grave? That's pretty cool. The dead do not remember you. Who can praise you from the grave? And that's such a powerful statement because, when you're dead, you're dead. I mean, that's it. You had a shot. You were a spirit. You got to be here. You won the lotto of being here on Earth. I forgot what the odds are. It was like 1 in 4 billion or something, or I think it was maybe 1 in 40 billion. Somebody did the math on what the odds of you being here with regards to the sperm and eggs at that moment in time. I should probably do that math problem. I'm going to write that out. Odds of being here based on the possibility of being born, based on the amount of sperm produced in men and the number of eggs produced in women. And so, it's a random event, right? You never know when the two parents are going to have sex. So since it's a random event and you need those two things to hook up at a particular moment in space and time, I guess you can run the odds. So anyways, I'm laughing about it because, once you're kind of here and you kind of showed up in this, spirit into this physical form, what you decide to do with that life, being here and enjoying this miracle. And I love Alan Watts' explanation of this. I'm not going to take credit for it. We are each our own ultimate reality. When we don't do any work and we see all of the stuff around us through eyes, that are worth more than any diamond or jewel or ruby or whatever you want to say, any precious stones. Our eyes can see and pull in the information around the world around us. We can sense everything around us through our skin. Our skin is a huge organ, and we feel heat and cold and everything in between. And, but meanwhile, people want a fur coat, even though fur coat has no feeling, right? But your skin does. And, and then you think about the fact that we can hear, and we can hear all these different things in the environment, and our ears are perfect. And when things aren't working, that's when something's wrong. But most of the time when things are working, they work without even doing any of the work. That's the funny thing. Most of your body works without you thinking about it working. We don't think about our stomach digesting our food. or our saliva, making sure it kills any bacteria in what we eat. And, just so many different things that we're just this magnificent creation walking around. We're like our own little planet in and of itself. Some people like myself right now, we're, kind of shaped like a little mountain. I got my extra COVID pounds, and I got a little peak building. I gotta cut some weight. I just had a friend tell me today, I saw you on film. You better cut some pounds, Bobby. Anyways, look, it is what it is. I'll figure it out. But maybe what I'll do is I'll tell everyone I'm going to lose weight, and then I'll show up to the gym every day. But like this Bible class here, maybe they'll be effective. But anyways, let me go on to the next point. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought here. So then it goes, I am worn from sobbing. At night I flood my bed with weeping, drenching it with my tears. My vision is blurred by grief. My eyes are worn out because of my enemies. My vision is blurred by my grief. So, part of the other prayer, I think, in Genesis was about enemies. And, when you think about enemies, it's an interesting thing because, one of my talks today about the markets had to do with, this whole idea of depopulating the planet by these really sick, evil people. And I said, if you take all the human beings on planet Earth and we place them shoulder to shoulder, we'd all fit in like LA County. And I tell people, I said, why don't you go to Google Earth and just go look at how big LA County is? Like, I did the math. I think there's like one human being for every 700 acres of land on the planet. So when they say there's too many of us, I basically say that's like saying we have too many brain cells. Each of us is like a brain cell, same number of connections as the average human being has 5,000 to 10,000 connections over their lifetime. A neuron in our brain has about 10,000 connections. So it's interesting, the fractals work out in the physical world, as like in terms of how we behave with other human beings, and then on the individual level in our brains. So anyways, when I think about this, my vision is blurred by grief and the sobbing, because of all my enemies. I can't help but think that, maybe some of these enemies, there are some that are purely evil, but some of them just might be misinformed and don't really understand what the truth is, and that there's an overabundance on this earth, and there always will be, because God will always provide for his children. We're all children of God. And, I do not believe that we will ever want, if we truly, put God first and trust in God's plan, because God is the creator and maintainer of all. And, think about it, in a weird sort of way. If you were building, I don't know, some kind of toy set, or you're playing a video game and you created a world, if the players in the world that you created like were kind of being jerks, you might just wipe the whole board with the flood. Or if the players are doing what you thought they should kind of do, you might watch and see how they played things out. And so in some respects, I do think that, we have a choice as to what we want it to look like. And if we can kind of correct things from our own failings, I think it does please God. And one of the things that pleases God is to reconcile with our enemies and make them our friends. So go away, all you who do evil. Now, I'm not saying to be friends with people that are evil. For the Lord has heard my weeping. The Lord has heard me plea, my plea. The Lord will answer my prayer. May all enemies be disgraced and terrified. May they suddenly turn back in shame. Now, keep in mind, I do think this is the enemies that refuse to turn into friends. But there's always hope until the very end that an enemy will turn into a friend. But I do think that you have to be aware of the fact that some people can't change, and that's just the reality of it. They continue to live the same pattern, and you just have to move on. And fortunately, there's 7 other billion people on this earth, or I'm sorry, 5. I think there's under 5 billion. I think the 7's too high. Prove me wrong. Go get a census going. Yeah, with the Democrats taking the count, and then we could talk. But anyways, I think with that, we went a little longer than expected. So if there's anything anybody wants to ask before I sign out here, I'm more than happy to try to answer it. We are supposed to be in the world, not of the world. We are definitely in the world. We are not of the world. Yeah, I do agree that we work for Christ. I'm not sure we totally fail. I think we have missteps along the way. Yeah, you don't want the burden of being the purveyor of justice, because there's this thing called retaliation. So it's better to let God do it, take care of it for you. Yeah, Bill Gates is a horrible individual. Okay. Well, with that, I'm gonna go relax a little bit, watch a little TV like everybody else.